Hello everyone, welcome back. My plan tonight is to continue on with that multi-select tree view that we started last time. I've had a good hard long think about what we were doing. Might try a different direction. We're going to see where it goes. I'm going to do my best to not get as distracted as last week and probably end up getting as distracted as last week. But first, quick announcement. For anyone who is unaware, GitKraken puts on a conference every year. GitCon, you can think of this as not necessarily a conference on Git or even GitKraken, but on software development in general. They've got a couple keynote speakers that are going to be awesome. They haven't really announced a lot of the sessions or speakers yet, but spoiler, you might see my face. So, if you are interested, check out GitCon. Okay, that's enough of that. Material design and XAML. Where were they left off before? We were building a multi-select tree view. And as we learned last time, the multi-select tree views are hard. They don't exist in WPF. And so we took some inspiration from Visual Studio and went, hang on, Visual Studio has tree views. This looks like a tree view. This tree view supports multi-selection. That's cool. Can I have multi-selection? And it turns out that the way that they actually implemented these is with a list view, which gives a lot of nice things. The challenging part here is inside of the list view, you basically are responsible for dealing with your own expand and collapse. You're also responsible for your own indentation. Now, you're not going to get any of that out of the box because list view doesn't provide that out of the box. But if you want to implement like the column headers and whatnot, that is a thing that can go in there. And we'd started down the path of, okay, well, let's go with a list view, but then let's re-implement a lot of the tree view items stuff. And I was thinking about our approach last time and realized I don't like a good chunk of it. Now, specifically, the part I don't like is that this guy derived from headers items control. And I think this is what was biting us at the end of the stream last time, is we were trying to figure out how to do this selection. And we got selection working, but only at the top level, which wasn't great. That's not really what we want. And I think at the end of the day, and this is, I believe, where we were headed, is realizing that this headers collection is probably not what we want. Internally inside this, we want a flat list that appropriately indents the items. So I was going to back up a little bit from where we had gone and change some of this up, because I think if we do that, we can deal with a lot of this stuff. And I found a few more samples online where people had done tree views with list views, and I kind of like them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause this one here and just let it sit for a second. And we're just going to make a new file. And I think tree, so we're going to try this, public class tree list view, because I think this is a little more clear as to what's going on. We're going to just move you into your own file, and we're going to play over here because we're already on a branch. We're already kind of doing our own thing. Public class tree list view item. List view item. Because I think if we go this route and we focus instead on styling this up and doing the indentation and the expansion and magically building that out, the rest of the stuff we get from list view for free. Probably worth considering. Okay, so we do want to do effectively this thing here. And so we want this to be preview item, and then we do want to do this override as well. Therefore, we want this to be free list view item. Okay, so this gets us part of the way there. We'll lambda body both of them. Why not? Why not? Okay, so that gets us there. Let's plug in a little thing in the demo app so we can leverage it. I kind of want to be able to use it and see it work. So I'm going to just bring this comment down to here and bring this comment up to here. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to leverage this thing here, and we're going to just build this out. So, and then this will be I don't know why the comment starts there. I don't know why the highlighting isn't picking it up. Okay. Oh, it's probably because I'm in the middle of a debug session and it has no idea which end is up. That's probably a pretty good reason. Let's see. Tree list view. Okay. And then we're going to do something like item source. We're going to do the same binding we leveraged on the other one, which was movie something, movie categories. Boom. And then we'll do a, let's see, material design, tree list view. Okay, Copilot, here's your time to shine. That's pretty darn close. Copilot, you're amazing. You are freaking amazing. Okay, we need to build, because right now the tree list view lives in the library, and this is the demo app, and the XAML designer is not hip when it doesn't know about things. It gets very, very confused and really wants you to recompile. We'll recompile. It's happier. Okay. I think that's going to get us pretty close to what we wanted. So let's start there and see how close this is. Okay. So aside from the fact that there's no expansion, we do have the selection stuff. All of that's fine. Okay, so let's set up some styling for this guy. And I think we're gonna still do it in the trees section here. No, not there. Down in the themes. Themes, trees, tree view. Okay, so we're gonna do something not too unlike this. Copy, paste. Okay, material design, tree list view. Let's see, WPF tree list view. Come up here. Let's see, tree list view item. I'm already liking the naming. Already liking this better than where we were going last time. Sometimes you just need a good long think. Okay, so this is going to get us... Okay, so we got to change up some data types in here, and I saw a couple compile errors. Just going to scan this really quick. I'm trying to decide how much we try to hide away the fact that it is not a... That's not a real tree view. Let's actually... I want to unindent these and wrap you around. Okay. Header is not recognized. Content. Has items. We might need to implement that. I would rather add that item though. Items panel. We're gonna need a handle. But and we may or may not actually need to handle items panel. There may be a couple times where if somebody wants to retemplate this, they really do need to focus on understanding how it's set up. Okay, so that gets me to there. That gets me to there. That's probably close. Okay, let's add in default styling. I think that's where we were doing it here. Yeah. I wasn't thrilled about it, but we're gonna continue the thing that I'm not thrilled with, because why not? Tree list view. Let's see here. Tree list view item. So these things here are implicit styles that when WPF is looking for the appropriate style for these controls, it'll land on here, and the styles each define the appropriate template. Tree list view item. Okay, so that should just magically style the control up for us so it doesn't look all old school WPF-y. Because as cool as the technology was in 2005, we can do better. Okay. Cannot bind. No property named header. Got it. So we messed up in here somewhere. This where at? Yeah. Content source. Content. Do we loop around? Yeah. Okay, let's try that. I think it was just that being a problem. In reality, this should probably end up in its own resource dictionary, but I kind of want to leave it here where I can easily leverage it. Let's see. Can only bind a style with a target type. Oh, so I didn't set the appropriate target type on my styles. All of these errors are effectively WPF saying, what are you doing, you moron? Let's see. So it wasn't that one. It was the next one down that I forgot to do. Tree list view. Huh? What was the error again? Oh, the control template. It can only base a style on... Well, okay. Fix the bug we can see, and then we'll deal with the one we can't see. Tree... Tree list view. Don't know why the IntelliSense wasn't helping me. And then did I mess it up in the defaults somewhere? Tree list view, tree list view. Tree. Oh, tree list view, and then I pointed at the item. Design tree list view item. Okay. That's probably the one that it was actually squawking about. Come on. There we are. Okay, so we've got that much. Okay, and this is where I think we actually then spend our time dealing with this, is we want effectively this to start changing out. And you know what? I'm annoyed at that. Hang on, we're going to fix this foreground because this is bothering me already. So why are you foreground stupid? Okay, so foreground, black, inherited, chase the rabbit up the food chain. Inherited, chase the rabbit up the food chain. Inherited, 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 inherited. Tree list view item. Binding, path, foreground, relative source, find ancestor, tree view. Look at that. That thing's failing. The binding's failing. That's why we're getting black. So inside of my tree list view item, there is a foreground setter, and it is, as I can see, it's coming from the style. And that'd be the problem. So let's see, my item, foreground, ancestor type. Look at that. That is not going to do what we would like. We do that. And now that should propagate down properly. That way, hopefully now we get the right setup. There we go. Okay, so we got white. Okay, so here's my thinking. We're going to have to do some magic at some point. Something's going to have to flatten this list. Now, we either tell the caller, you have to flatten it, but then we have the question of how does the caller indicate hierarchy to us? I kind of like the idea, emphasis on kinda. I kind of like the idea of the caller interacting with this the same way they would with a tree view, meaning with a hierarchical data template. I think this is what I like. So my thought is, if internally we haven't, so rather than letting item source flow all the way in, I'm wondering if we hijack it. And internally we set the item source to something else. We let this be a thing. And then we go somewhere else with it. I'm wondering if that makes our life easier. I guess the question is, what is the right way of doing that? I'm wondering if that makes the most sense. Because if we are able to, because we already know when the items are being created, right? Like we are building these things up. We can do whatever we need to here. And I'm thinking if we let this one here, well, how do I get it? How do I override that item source binding then in the middle? Right? I can't just it's not virtual, is it? No. But everything related to it is, so I can be easily notified when something around it changes. And this is why I'm wondering if maybe it makes sense to we could tell the callers they just have to feed us a flat list, but then how would we expect them to indicate hierarchy? That seems really disgusting. Because at the end of the day, you might want a different data template at the different levels, which is exactly what the hierarchical data template gives you. So let's play with this. Items, container, item container generator. So this is the magical guy that does a lot of the work for us. So this guy here doesn't have an is expanded. So let's start there. Let's see. We want a bool is expanded. We want all the usual culprits. And then, let's see, tree list view item. And then we want framework property metadata because we would like to override this. So I'm going to default to false. And we would like binds two-way by default. We probably want to let it know that it's going to change like measure and whatnot as well. But we're going to do that. Start here so that we at least know about it. And then we would like, this is the item. No, this is the tree list view. This is the item. We would like to bind in this toggle button here. Yeah, so he's now conveniently already bound to is expanded. Holy shit, for the moment. I don't want to get confused. Move you over. Okay. And then I would also like to set up a callback, I think, on is expanded change. So generate me a method and be an empty method. Let's see. I am calling the wrong overload here because I need default value, framework property, metadata options, property changed callback. What is your problem here? On changed. Oh, is this a coerce? Yeah, so it's trying to hit the property change callback. Show me what your problem is. Void. Oh, so you generated me the, oh, that's what happened. It generated the wrong one because it didn't know which overload, so it guessed, and it guessed poorly. Excellent. Okay, so let's not have any of this garbage. Boom. Okay, so you go like that, and then we don't need this. Compiler can figure it out based on the signature. Expanded. Expanded. Okay. This is the part where when this changes, we want to do something about this. Let's have this guy, just for now at least, have a reference directly to his parent. Let's see. ListView. We're going to make you internal because I don't want other people abusing this. ListView. Create and assign property. That sounds great. Nullable sounds great. That's not where you put the question mark. Unless you're really confused. Okay, so tree list view, item expanded. And let's do if D is tree list view item, which it should always be. And then we're going to do item. What's your problem? Let's see. Oh, item dot. We should probably forward this through, but that's okay. Yeah, we're going quick and dirty. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. Dead. I can see I am destined to not know how to spell this all night long. So, which is probably good. That means people are watching. My typing skill goes down when people watch. Okay. Something to this effect. And then in here, what we'd like to do is we would like to grab it and know that, and do something with adding our items. And I think what we want to do here is e.newValue, hardcast to bool. We'll rename this item expanded changed. Then we'll do something like bool is expanded, something to that effect. Okay, let's make sure at least this much works. I'm going to start with just that breakpoint. Because I'm thinking if we do something like this, we can add additional properties to the tree list view item that's like level or whatever it's indented to. So if I do this, obviously it fails. Excellent. I was worried it would work the first try. Okay, so that there. Oh. Turns out you need to not be a moron. And if you don't call the right constructor, it isn't going to work. Okay, so let's try the constructor that actually does what we want. In reality, I think we'll probably end up with like a routed event or something. I think is a little better anyway, but that will be neither here nor there. Okay, item expanded changed is expanded true, great. And then if we go is expanded false, huzzah, we're in business. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is be able to get the, so let's start with the true case. Is expanded, right? So now we want to do item container generator. Let's see, because that's going to be the index from container. So this will give us the index of the item in an array. And the important thing here is we want to use this to get the index rather than looking at like the bound data behind the scenes, because that will fall apart if hypothetically somebody puts the same instance of an object in the collection multiple times. You can't just do index of and assume that the index is always going to be distinct. If anyone here works for Telerik, take notes. I'm not bitter. Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure we get the appropriate thing coming through this. Then we'll work on grabbing the items. So let's see. So this should give me a 1. Bing, bing, bing. 1. Huzzah. Okay. Now we want to see if we can go through and get the item. Now, how can we grab his template? Item, because that's the item template selector. What I really, really want to do, I guess it doesn't matter. Well, it does, because at the end of the day, what I kind of want to do is get a hierarchical data template, right? So I go and check if it has a template, and then down here, I want to be able to get his underlying items and flatten the collection. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is that actually a good way of doing it? Is that a good way of doing it? Does that make sense? Or does it make sense for the caller to specify? Because if they feed us in a hierarchical data template, there's a bunch of stuff that goes along with it. Because this will get me an item source binding, which I've already got the item. It gives me an item template, and I can do all kinds of stuff with it. Because at that point, I would want to flatten all of the rows from this thing into tree list view items. Let's go down to items control real quick. What do you have? What do you have? Because you know that's the items host. I guess it's not really possible for someone to bind, because if we let them bind to a flat list, the caller then has to specify the hierarchy. And by hierarchy, I mean we have to know, hey, the following items are children of this other thing. That really is a hierarchical data template. I'm still liking that a lot. Get container. But I am thinking that I want to override the the item source. Item from index, item control, items panel, item source, item string format, template selector. Yeah, because by building on this, we can do a whole lot of work to make this. Yeah, so let's continue down this path, because at the end of the day, we want to find the appropriate template for a given item. Kind of want to grab it here. I want to see how we got to here and then walk backwards, because I want to see where I can grab the template from, because somebody is realizing this template. Let's see. Generate next. Okay, so get container for item. And item in this case is going to be my... You're not going to play nice, are you? No. Yeah, item is its own container for override. So we know it's going to call that first. Let's grab it there and confirm, but I'm pretty sure item in this case is going to be our bound view model. Yeah, so this is movie category. So we do that, we do that. So how did it get? So it got the dependency object back. Visual get parent, blah, 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 blah. That's going to go up the food chain to here. It's going to get the dependency object not know, link container to item, factory realize. I'm wondering if it's one of these. It's going to be in here somewhere. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Okay, so dependency object is our disable breakpoint, continue, re-enable breakpoints, continue. Okay. The dependency object is our tree list view item. Great. Our object is our movie category. Let's step on in. Okay, so we clear item container, set item container property. So it just holds around. It sets the data context in. Factory realize. This is going to be all the data virtualization bits, isn't it? I love the hard-coded 16. Yeah, so that's not quite what we're looking for. Set alternation index. So where did the data template come into play? Or did it even come into play? It might not have come into play, did it? Because hierarchical data template derives from data template, doesn't it? Which means, yeah, it does. So even though it's landing on it, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because in our usage, it's treating this like a regular data template and building this up here. Because it's getting TreeView item and setting the data template on it somewhere after the TreeView item's been built. And I want it earlier than that. No, I'm okay with later. Because if I have the tree view item. Oh, oh. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Right? Okay. So let's turn these off for a moment. Disable. If we catch it here, we've already got the item. We just check and see if he has it because it should be assigned onto here. Right? You exist. Show me. Content template. Yeah, so the data context is set. What is your template? Names. So that's the control template. Template internal. Is there not a... content template, but content template was null. When would, but the content of here is assigned, right? Content. The content contains that, and it then looks up the template implicitly. The problem is I want to look at the template that got applied to the content, but that's being applied somewhere else. And that's being applied somewhere I won't know about. Content is item. Interesting. So how do I get at it? Okay, we're gonna before I get too carried away. WPF TreeView. Maybe we should do that backwards. ListView as TreeView. Let's go take a little inspiration. Let's see. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Yeah, this is one that I've seen before. This is effectively the same thing. Because this is kind of the idea, is we derive from TreeView, we override the container, tree list item, we do our own collection. Let's see, insert add, doing the needful there. We create a tree node, which stores it says selected is expanded. Yep. Show me your code. Show me your code. File download. Excellent. One moment while I get it not where it currently is. Come on. Track. Okay. So we're going to open this with... We're going to just open in code because I'm just looking at how old the solution file is. We're not going to try. We are not going to try. So unit tests, I approve. Tree. Okay, so tree list. iTree model. Yuck. Not a fan of this. Not a fan of that at all. Tree nodes. Pending focus nodes, selected nodes. I mean, this is kind of what I was thinking, but yuck. Item container generator. So he watches the item container generator for status change to be able to call focus on it and uses this as a cache. Okay, prepare item. Do not like that item has to implement a particular tree node. That seems very yucky to me. This is one of the things that I really don't like is custom controls that make assumptions on MVVM and base types. And oh, you can bind anything you want in here as long as your type implements, you know, insert interface here or similar. Which that's always a possibility, but what if you don't control the type? Then you have to wrap it. Blah blah. It's just yucky. Don't like it. Insert item, it has to have its own property changed implementation. Children's source, which now needs to have its setup. This is awkward. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I was going for, but not like I want to drop the tree node. And so his way of working around it is this iTree model to be able to know what children come from where. Level to indent converter, which sure, yeah, we're gonna end up doing something similar to that. That's fine. Does all that? Sure, great. I mean, it works, but yuck. Yuck. Actually, what was that one? I didn't see it. Hierarchical behavior. Okay. And it wouldn't be that bad to just document something along the lines of, this is how you have to use it. But I'd really kind of like it if it didn't just suck. I'd like to be able to intelligently do something with it if it is a hierarchical data template. How does TreeView handle it? It must be doing something. How do it know? Let's see. Hierarchical. Really? There's nothing in here. It's all down in items control is what you're telling me. No. Whoa. Huh? How? Huh? I'm confused. How does it do it? Because we looked at selection, but we didn't look at how it gets its values. Get container for item. Yeah. An item's changed. How does it do the switch? How is hierarchical data template implemented? Okay, I know last time we opened up WPF. Or WPF solution. Why don't I see my WPF clone? No, I've got one. I know I've got one. I know we cloned WPF. Where are you? We're gonna go find out. Time to just go spelunk the deep, dark depths of WPF. Because I would love to understand how it gets there. Because it's going through the container generator. But how does it know when you have a hierarchical data template? Is it TreeView item that does something? I wonder if it's TreeView item that does the magic. Maybe it's TreeView item that has the magic built into it. or even headered items control. Header desired sizes. Items host. Hierarchical virtualization and scroll info. What is this interface? Public interface, constraints, header desired size, item desired sizes, desired sizes of control item and device independent units and logical units. Items host. See, but this runs amok of the... I couldn't implement this interface because I don't want it in this particular items host because I just kind of want to grab them. So it's got to be here. Yeah, it's got to be in here. Let's just check headered items control. Hierarchy. Header template. Ah. There she is. There she is. Headered items. There it is. There it is. Headered items control. So because it derives from headered items control, it then knows something about it. The problem being, we don't want to derive from headered items control. Ha 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 ha. Okay. Okay. Prepared headered items control. Where are you invoked from? Well, we've got WPF open. Let's just go look. Let's see. Prepare headered items control. That one. Show me your usages. How many are there? Can't be that many, right? 1. Excellent. I heard 1 exactly. Prepare container for item override. So inside of here, it casts the item to a headered items control because they didn't have pattern matching back when this existed. This guy comes in here, checks the item, prepare hierarchy. Header is not logical. Prepare hierarchy. Hierarchy takes the item, looks at the header template, and we would like to grab the template for our item. That is functionally what we want. We would like to grab, because they have header template here, we want the same thing. Wait, find template resource internal. Wait, you're telling me there's a method for this? Searches for data. Well. This is exactly what I want. You jerk. You jerk. You have hidden it away. Is there not a way I can get to here? I want to see if there's a way I can get to here. Yuck. Man, I want to find a way into this. Hang on. Prepare hierarchy, that's way too nested. That's where we came from. Default selector. Default template selector. Where do you come from? Content presenter. Default selector. So if I can get a hold of default selector, I can use you. Where do you get applied? Where do you go? Static default template selector. Of course, you're private. You suck. Choose template. Got it. Okay, so this guy here, this looks like an entry point. This looks like an entry point. What are we inside of? Content presenter? So inside of content presenter, we can get a hold of it. So given a content presenter that's added to the virtual tree, we can find his template. Excelente. Ha. Okay. Okay, so come back here. Continue. Yeah, stop. Go ahead and kill that execution. Okay, so we can get into here. So let's kill this. And I think what we want to do is we want to look at this from Snoop's perspective, because I think where we want to grab this is nested down a little bit. Okay. Because content presenter can do it. Content presenter exists inside of our code, inside of, well, it's somewhat deeply nested, but it's right here. And this is what I want to look at, because I'm willing to bet if I look at the content presenter that is deeply nested inside of this guy, he will have access to the data template that I seek. That is the theory. And that's what we're operating under at the moment. Okay, so if we come into here, there's the content presenter. Show it to me. Content presenter, content template is null. It's not just defaulting to, right? This isn't being dumb and doing something. No, 3232. So it is landing on ours, but it doesn't show. Find. So what does it do when it finds the data template? Find data template. This guy, what does it do with it? It finds the data template, takes the template. This is a template selector. And so we were following that through here. And we want to find where the default template selector gets used. Default template selector is only used in one place to select the template, which comes into here to choose template. Choose template is virtual. We evaluate template. So the template property should be getting applied to the content presenter if this is where we are hitting. What I don't understand is when we look at this, Oh, the template property isn't being shown here. Why aren't you being shown here? Because there's templated parent, content presenter template. What are you? You're private. Oh, you. Bah! You suck. On template changed. You're all the good stuff's internal. All the good stuff's internal. Protected virtual. Ah ha 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 ha. Man, this is gonna get abusive fast. Okay, we're doing it. We're doing it because I don't see another good way. This is way too much work. Okay. This is all about learning WPF. Tree, list, view, item, content, presenter. Because you made everything internal. There's very few paths in. We may have found it. Okay, derived from content presenter. And then we want to override template on content template changed. Was it? I think it was content template changed is the one that we want. I don't know that for a fact though. I can't remember. Block body, show me. Did I close where I was at? Probably. Okay. Well, what we're going to do is we're just going to grab this sucker here. Override template on template change. We're just going to grab them both. And then we are going to see which one of you suckers fires with what I want. And then I want to go here. And then inside of my thing here, I want to go with WPF. Boom. Now we hook it. Okay, so if we swap out the content presenter inside of our TreeView item template, I think we can get a hold of the template as it comes in. Old template. Hierarchical data template. Boo-rah. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. Okay. Okay, so control what is it? No, template part. That's what it is. So name is going to be, because we want to define what is a requirement for our template. And in order for this thing to work, we need that. And we need it to be of type of, because we're going to be real specific here. Boom. Okay. Next thing we're going to do. Public data template, because you darn it made it hidden. All right, and that shouldn't be a problem. And then template gets new template. Boom. We'll let the base go through first. There we go. Okay. Now we've got that. Now we've got that cached. Now we come down here. We go override on apply template. Thank you very much. And then we are going to say, after this comes through, we want to be... Thank you, Copilot. That's not quite right, but you're close enough. We want to be able to grab our content presenter and hold on to him. So private let's see, content presenter. Wow. Okay, Mountain Dew. Oh boy. Okay. Cannot type, cannot spell. We're going to do this. We're going to say, thank you. You got pretty close, Copilot, but no. Not quite what we were going for. Do that. Okay, so now we've got our content presenter. Our content presenter will get us access to our data template. Our data template we can cast to a hierarchical data template, which gives us our items that we can use to get our children. Yes! This is what we want. This is what we want. Okay. Public. Enumerable of object. Nullable because no guarantees of anything. Get children. Okay, so prerequisites here. If let's see here. So we want content presenter is no, Copilot, you are completely and utterly wrong. Go away. And actually, we don't even care about the content presenter. What we really want to grab out of it is its template property. So for people who haven't seen this fun syntax, so the double curly brace is what people are getting more familiar with as being a null check because it's an empty property pattern. And most people forget that property patterns are things. So this says if the content presenter is not null, because a property pattern must be a non-null value, and its template property is not null, take the template property, create a local variable called template, and have the entire expression return true. That's a lot of words for a few curly braces, and it's wonderful, and I love it. Okay, if template is hierarchical data template, we'll do that. We'll upcast that. Actually, do that instead. There we go. So if we've got a hierarchical data template, template item source, I want to know how I evaluate you to get your children, because I think it's going to be something like template item source, because this is a binding base, provide value. How do I get the service provider? Maybe null. So what I heard is send null in. Item source provide value. Let's see what happens here. Let's see. Return array.empty. Okay, so on expanded, so we don't care about index yet, but what we want to do is we want to do item get children, right? So our children, and we're gonna to list it just to force enumeration, even though it's under the hood we don't care yet. But I think then we can leverage this to be able to pull the children out, insert them into our list, and make this work. Now, not all functionality of the hierarchical data template will function with this tree view, but I think I'm okay with that. Because the end experience is that it just doesn't work. And people file bugs and say, hey, the following property doesn't work, and then we deal with it. Okay, if we do this, provide value gave me back a binding. Is that what I expect? Is that what I expect? Hang on. Did I... Item source. I kind of thought when I did item source dot, I was getting the binding already. Because what is this binding here? Item source binding has a path that points at what? Path points at movies, which is kind of what I expected. So I'm a little surprised that children gave me a binding with a path that also it's stop it. Don't help me. Don't help me. I'm gonna figure this out. If I cast you in, am I just stupid? Is there something else on here I should be aware of? Provide value. Yeah. Wait, what is this? Extract double. Why do we have extract double as an extension method on object? Ooh. I wrote it 33 days ago. That's not a good look for me. At least it's internal. Deal with it later. Okay. What is going on here? Let's see. Service provider, blah, blah, blah. Create binding expression, blah, blah, blah. Look abstract. Yeah, this is binding base, though. Yeah, I don't want to look at binding base. I want to look at binding. What am I doing wrong here? What am I doing wrong? There's going to be an override in here, and he's going to do something useful, and it's that something useful that I would like to invoke. Name scopes is async states. Kind of don't like having to do the binding directly, but we kind of have to evaluate. Should serialize, look up, do filter, create binding expression, initialize clone, determine scopes. Okay, somebody. Okay, show me all your overrides. That's all I want to see. Validation rules, validation notify, create binding expression override. That could be it. We're going to mark it and come back. The validation, create clone, initialize clone. Yeah, so we're going to go here. What do you do? Binding expression. Create binding expression. So what does that do? Create binding expression. We are very, very deep in this. Okay. All of this to get into here, but none of that actually gets me back to what I want, which is just evaluating the binding. Because ultimately, when this thing comes in, we want to provide value the same way that that thing is going to work. Which we could actually save ourselves a little trouble then. Because, okay, one, I messed up and separated these. Okay, what if we cheat a little bit? Because we know when this is occurring. I am wondering if it makes sense for this thing here to accept and bind the children, because we can add a children property to it. Because isn't that what TreeView item does? Because this guy relies on an items control. Where is it? Content control items presenter. But that is leveraging the interface so that it knows where to write it to. We do not want to do that, but we could do the data binding ourselves and allow the property to exist there. Because if the template comes in, we have this guy here, we can get the template. Once we have the template, I'm just wondering if, so if we do, if new template is hierarchical data template, hierarchical item source, and then we do something like this where we go prop EP I enumerable children. I just botched that completely. Okay, we're gonna go here. We do this. We do this. This becomes a null. This becomes big long name here. Let's see, children property, children property, children property. This becomes enumerable. This becomes internal. This becomes internal. I guess it really doesn't need to be internal, but we're going to leave it that way for the moment. And then this set binding, and we do children property, and we do hierarchical item source. Clear, what is it? That binding. Well, I guess what we can do is we can just do an else here. No point in blindly setting if we don't need to. Set binding. Actually, it's clear property, isn't it? Clear value. Yeah. Do that. Blow it away. Okay, so if we do that, then instead of all of this, then when it comes time to get the children, we don't query template, we query children. And we don't care what it is per se, which means we really only care about the presenter now. Presenter, and then we just blindly return presenter.children no coalesce to array.empty. Okay. I guess we should probably ooh, JC just popped in to ask if the clear button on that's stupid thing. On a text box should be firing on property change. Text field assist dependency. Ooh. That is a good question. We can look. Text field assist. Let's see, and it's going to be has clear button. Okay, so that is the behavior is not in the attached property, which means it's in the template. Let's see, Bing. So then I guess the question is, which control are you using? Is that just the text box or which one? Because has clear button, text box. Demo doesn't, and your app doesn't. Let's see here. So there's the hint. Has clear button. Part clear button. Clear command. Just follow this guy down. So the text box should be setting the text property to null. So we can check this real quick. I would expect the text property, what did I do here? Return null bang semicolon comment. Take a look. And then other quick question, which version of the library are you on? I assume it's probably 4.9. Okay, so if we go to fields, yeah, 4.9. Okay, cool. So we'll take what I'm about to do with a bit of a grain of salt. Okay, so that does in fact assign it there and clear that out. So let's go to the fields screen and just see what's going on. So the dependency property is being cleared out. So if that isn't giving you, because I assume you're watching for property changed on the text box itself, or are you data bound to the text property? Let's see here. It has clear button. Let's see, X name clear. So if we go, my view model using community toolkit. Okay, so if that's the case, let's data bind this guy. So this is here. Let's see, binding. What's our data context? Do we have one? We do. Okay. I'm just gonna bind to name. Binding name. And then I expect to see that going through. Now I have a sinking suspicion it could be potentially focus related, but we'll take a look here. So if we go up fields, we go some value there, tab, then it sets the property. And then if I click this, we don't need that anymore. Oh, it doesn't. Interesting. Wow. Okay. That's... Oh, okay. So working theory that the default update source trigger on the binding is going to be lost focus. And I'm wondering if because of where the button is positioned in the template, if that is the source of what's going on. Kind of like how it didn't update the text in my backing field until I tabbed away, and now I'm going to have to move this so that it doesn't. If I do this, click off, put the binding back. Now if I click, sets it immediately. Yeah. I suspect what's biting you is the fact that bindings default their update source trigger to lost focus. So I don't know if you had to jump yet, JC, or not. If you change it to update source trigger property changed, that will be better. If it's a text field that has a lot of activity, like the user's typing a bunch in it, you may also want to set a delay on it, just so that, because if you do on property changed, that binding is going to be firing on pretty much every keystroke. And you probably want to wait for it to slow down a little before you update your view model. So yeah, I think if you do something like this, that'll probably get you close to what you want. It is an unusual behavior. I just don't know if we can realistically fix it in the library, since that's the default property of binding. But something to that effect. And yes, you're welcome. So let's go back here, and I just want to throw that away. Okay. Back to plunging the depths of WPF. Okay, so we were going to do this maneuver here, where we attempt to pull this out. Children as I enumerable of object. I'm actually wondering if it makes more sense. We should just declare children as I enumerable of object. The only reason so much stuff is declared in WPF land without generics is because generics came out shortly after WPF released. So while they were developing WPF, they didn't really have generics as a thing that they could leverage. So it's like, well, I can kind of get them some slack on that. Okay, so that goes like that. That goes like that. That goes like that. What is your problem here? Nullability of reference types don't match. That's because you should have been object nullable. And technically, you should be nullable as well. That should be there. Okay. Let's see if this gets me my children. So I can pull the children. All of this work just because I don't want to make the user have to do something weird when they use this control. Oh, hang on. I'm an idiot. And I did not update this properly. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah, the other one updated. Fine. Property metadata null. Okay, cool. My demo. There we go. Okay, so if we do this, do we get children? Got him. I got him. Yes! 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 Okay. Happiness erupts. My happiness erupts. The crowd goes wild. Everyone's excited. Okay. First problem solved. Can we get the children? Answer? Yes. We can get the children. Thank you, Bananatron. I'm glad somebody shares my excitement. Sometimes I get overly excited about this. Okay, so we can pull the children out. Okay, once we get the children, then we want to leverage this index and insert the children into the list at the appropriate index, right? I'm going to settle for not worrying about the indentation, just that's it. That's all. I will settle for that as success. If to do that, I think what we need to do is have an internal collection that we do the bindings to. Yes, Justin Bieber. So the problem being is I'd like to expose up. I'd like to leave the item source property as is. Because I'd like that to be there, but I also want to what's the right way to do this? Because my public API, I want to be that item source, we could override the metadata and hijack a coalesce handler. The problem is that cuts both ways. Or does it? Can we get away with not doing that and having a wrapper that can dynamically inject into the middle but knows which way it's being called from? Because we can override the item source property and hook in to its property changes. There is a coalesce function that you can use to massage data into the shape that you need it into. And we could hijack that, take whatever collection the user sends in, wrap it in our own collection, and send that through. I think the problem, though, is then the user gets our collection sent back to them. Let's look. I don't remember how that works. Prop CP. Observable collection of object. Right? And so what I want to do is I want to look at this and I want to see property change callback. I want to do null on foo. I want to look at generate method because this is the coalesce one. And I don't remember if this if we do something here, does that change it? I don't think it does. Like, for example, basically what they did here, right? So we want items control, and we want the item source property, and we want to override the metadata, and we want it to be us as the owner. And rather than, because this one here just slapped in a different selection mode doohickey in here. And in our case, we still want a default of null. We want to grab a, so let's go and look. How is this guy declared? Item source property. Show me your declaration. Show me your declaration. There we are. Register, blah, blah, blah. So you're not fancy at all on item source changed. Ooh, I wonder if that's going to bite me if I turn this off. Get binding expression. Yeah, I think that's going to bite me. Because if I override the metadata, it's going to lose access to this changed handler. It's an interesting problem. It's a very interesting problem. Let's see. Item source property. Validate value. Default metadata. I guess we could wrap it. We could wrap it up. That'd work. That would work. And this is going to be the tackiest thing ever. Okay. Internal item source. We're gonna go down this path for a moment because I think this has potential. And actually, we don't need this as a dependency property. In fact, we can just assign it. So we can do this. We can do it like that. Okay. Now there may be a question of do we want to allocate before we know we need it and yada yada yada, but whatever. So we can do this. Item source property. items control var metadata. We can pull that sucker out, and then we can do are you able to, thank goodness you didn't seal the crap out of everything. Hallelujah. And actually, this thing didn't do anything fancy, did it? Is framework property metadata null callback. Okay. So if we do private class wrapping framework property metadata, do this, you will also derive from framework property metadata. Okay, and then so we want this guy to go here, and his first parameter is going to be metadata, and then yeah, and then we're just going to have him take a callback. So ctar we're going to do this existing, and then we will do what is the callback on this guy called? Where's your constructor? I want your constructor. Property changed callback. That's what I want. I want one of those. Gimme. Property changed callback. And actually, okay. And so what we want to do here is we want to do I don't really want to member-wise clone him. Actually, I guess I don't even need a wrapping object, do I? If I just pull this guy out, what I really want to do is set the property changed callback, which is a get set, and hijack. So I don't need this. Okay, being dumb. I'm being dumb. What I really want to do is I just want to metadata. Boom. All right, so we want to come in here and we want metadata to be property change callback gets or actually let's cache the callback. Our previous callback gets metadata property change callback. We're gonna just do a little delegate concatenation. Let's see. So metadata property change callback gets you didn't just do it for me, did you? Wow, that is remarkably impressive, Copilot. You're wrong, but that's remarkably impressive. Okay, so private static void on item source property, on item source changed dependency object O dependency property changed event args E. So we want this to fit in this hole, right? That goes like that. Oh, and we actually want to do this in the static constructor too. ListView, because we are going to be acting entirely on static members. So I think if I remember right, that's what we saw the ListView do. Yeah, static ListView. Briefly, what is default metadata? Great question. So when you're declaring your dependency properties, kind of like we did down here, when you do dependency property register, you set up the metadata for it, and oftentimes it looks something like this with, you know, property metadata specifying a default value of null, something thereabouts. So up here, what we would like to do, this is pulling the default metadata that was created for this property. Then we're going to muck with it, and then we're going to override it. That's the game plan, which would be great. Because even though this metadata is stored statically, you'll note that there is a owner type that goes along with this. So inside of this dependency property hierarchy, down in dependency object at the base level, it's keeping track of these source properties and owners so that we can leverage this. So that's why we want to change this guy. And now I'm just trying to think of the proper way to hook this so that these go together. I think what we want to do is yank this up to here to start with. And I am wondering if maybe I should do something more like this, where I hook it like that, and then we call previous callback. Let's see, D and E. No, I just noticed that those letters come sequentially in the alphabet, and part of me is now mildly concerned that that's the reason they picked those letters. Yeah, no problem. It's one of those cases that you really don't specify a lot of dependency properties unless you are building controls. Normally you consume dependency properties because they're on the controls that you're binding to. Because the target of a binding needs to be a dependency property. That's how a binding is able to work. So you've certainly consumed them in just about any WPF application, but usually only control authors concern themselves with actually creating them. Okay, so this guy goes here, and I think now we have a hijack where this goes through. So we'll just grab the breakpoint here. I want to make sure that when we fire this up, we now grab the item source. Because if this works, this might be a very clever trick. I don't know if this works though, is the problem. So let's see. Cannot change properties metadata after it's been associated with a property. Boo! Okay, so it doesn't like me mutating it. Fine then. I'll create a new one. So this is going to be, well, let's do this. Default metadata. Noin. Framework property metadata. Metadata gets new. There. Happy now? Happy? We'll make a new one. And I'll have to copy everything over to it. Gets default metadata. Wait, why is this thing? Oh, this isn't an assignable property, is it? Oh, it is, but it's going to do the flags. Okay, we don't actually care about those. What we care about is default value. Default value. We care about wish there was a way to grab just the non-flagged ones. Okay. Default metadata. Oh, because this thing is also just giving me property metadata members. We can do this differently. Let's go into here. because these are just these are reading and writing flags, and ultimately the flags are being set under the hood. Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to just not care. You know what? In the interest of testing this, what we're going to do is we're going to set default value and not worry about the rest, because we don't care about the rest. We know that that's the only one that matters. And then this becomes default metadata. And then metadata property change callback gets wired up, and then we override it that way. Okay. Something like that. Because we know under the hood all the places where this is being set. And I'm not real concerned with WPF changing it out from under me. Not a risk factor I think we have. Let's see. Default value does not match the type of property. What? Oh, yeah, right. Right, my bad. Okay, come on. Yes! Slow progress, but progress. Okay, so there's the tree list view. We can grab the new property changed event arcs. Okay. So, I am curious. I am very, very curious. If O is tree list view, let's see. Tree list view, let's see. Internal item source, clear, and then yeah, something like that. Thank you, Copilot. That's creepily accurate. Something to that effect. But now I'm wondering, what does it do if I coalesce it? Does that, or I'm sorry, coerce it? Gets what happens if I return tree list view the internal item source? I just do that. Does that affect the data bound one? Or is that only going to propagate down? So what we want to look at is movie categories. And I want to make this a get set, because I want to confirm that this doesn't change. So pro tip, you'll note that I was able to set my breakpoint right on the set or the get. Typically, people think of clicking on this bar here for setting breakpoints. You can actually set breakpoints at a much more granular level, because if you click here, this only sets it for the entire line. But sometimes you want to get a lot finer down there. If you put your cursor where you want it to be, or your caret, and then hit the F9 key, it'll set a breakpoint at a more granular level. So for example, if I click here, I get a breakpoint that covers that. But if I put it on the set and hit F9, I get a breakpoint that just covers the setter. Okay, so this setter is coming from the constructor. We expect that. Okay, we are returning item source. And then what is e.new value? Because we've, okay, the new value is now coalesced. So it's now much smaller. Object reference not set to the instance of an object. Well, previous. That's interesting. I'm going to comment this out for the moment because I'm most interested in checking this and what this ends up doing. Because in the case of the item source binding, it's not something that anyone expects to be swapped out. Okay, so now I want to look at this and see. So I didn't see the setter called there, but I'm wondering. No, so give me here. So I want to see tree list view, item source, right? So the item source. This thing is still bound to the. Oh, did it clear the collection? Well, that's bad. Movie categories. No, so it didn't clear the collection. Oh, that's nice. So it knows that the items made it in, but it's a different instance on the item source itself. Boys, that can be confusing to all get out to people. They assign to the item source property and they get something very, very different. That's kind of convenient, though. That's actually really, really convenient. Okay. So let's do it right here. If D is tree list view, we're gonna clean this up a little bit. Return base value. So if we aren't in happy case, we're just gonna let the value float through and not stress about it. Okay. So here we're going. If we find the guy, we're gonna grab it. But we want to do tree list view, internal item source clear, and then thank you, Copilot. Thank you. That's exactly what I want. So if we do it here, then let's relaunch, because I think what we can do is we can check. I think Snoop will be hip to this. It might not. We'll see. Because what I'm hoping we can do then is inject straight into this. Okay, so we've got that. We've got that. Okay, so we're just going to keep going because I think this is actually working. I think. Mostly confident. It's all 50-50. Okay, so we get the children. We get the index. And we do internal item source. Insert. Actually, we're going to do this. For int I equal to index I less than children.length. Sorry, count. This is a list. I plus. Internal item source insert I. Actually, you know what? We're going to go from 0. I think that'll make our life easier. And this can be I plus index. And we're going to grab children sub I. Okay. Else, and this is going to be so slick if this works. I'm going to do this. So if an item is collapsed, we then want to do the same thing for int I, remove at index plus 1. Okay. I probably have an off by 1 error in here somewhere. If I don't have an off by 1 error somewhere, I will be shocked. However, this is what I'm thinking. We now have an internal observable collection. We know when an item is being expanded. We can grab the item's children. We can add it to that internal collection, and bippity boppity. It's wrong. Action's now down here rather than up here. Now, if I collapse it. Okay, it's clearly wrong. Clearly wrong. We're off by 1, right? Okay. +1. We're going to start with that. We're going to start with the insertion problem. Fix that. It is working. It is working. Come alive, my little one. And yeah. Look at that, it works. And I have multi-select. Okay, so obviously indentation is not working yet. And the showing and the hiding of these arrows is not working because the typical tree view interaction has a has items property. And if something doesn't have children, it then does not show that. Is the standardized behavior. We should re-implement that. Oh, I'm so happy. So happy that works. So happy that works. That was a lot of hackiness in order to get inserting of 3 items. I just want to confirm really quick that in all of this adding of stuff that we haven't actually changed the underlying collection. Tree list view. Okay, so up at the tree list view, top level, here's our movie categories observable collection. If we open it up, it only has 2 items in it. Yes! Okay, how does this break? This only breaks if something assigns to the items collection and somebody is using a 2-way binding and expects to get that instance back, and they're using this control. That is sufficiently high enough of an edge case. I don't think I'm going to stress about it. I don't think I'm going to stress about it. Okay, this makes me happy. Let's get rid of the stuff we aren't using. Let's clean up, little cleanup here real quick. And let's move this into its own function. So let's do, no, stop it. Private static object coerce. What are we doing? Items source. Dang you, Copilot. Yes. Thank you. I realize you were smart enough to just do exactly what I did before, but... Okay, so this then comes up here and goes with... Okay. There's also a potential bug if WPF changes something under the hood and blows away any of this stuff. In theory, we should probably be copying over more data, but you know what? For now, we're just going to do this. Because we know that the declaration of this doesn't add anything. What is common dependency property? Huh. I have no idea what that's used for. It's internal, so I don't need to know. Okay. So that goes like that. That goes like that. Thus ends the world's most hackiest way of doing this, and it so works. Okay. So now we need to add in... like has children and yeah, don't need that. We need add children and level. Let's start with level because I think that will be the easiest. So prop dependency. Let's see, int. Is level the right word? What do you call the nesting? I guess level. Not sure I like it though. 11 is not level, so we're going to use the actual word, not something I typoed. Let's see, and this is going to be this guy here. Default is 0. Maybe nesting level would be better. Nested level. I don't know. Whatever. Naming to be determined. No promises. We stick with this. Okay, so this guy goes here. And what we need to know is when we add an item in, because we're just adding in effectively view model classes at this point. We need to know what the level is when we create a container to know which one it needs to be at. Is item its own container? Do we want to change this up so that this respects level? Would require looking this thing up to know its level. So how are we going to do this? So if we look at the item, we can look at the item, we know where it is, we know when we expand it, and we know the items that we add underneath it. I think we almost have to keep track of levels by index. I'm trying to think if there's a better way to do this. I think we're going to have to do something like that. Trying to decide if there's a better way. I don't necessarily love it, but it might be the path of least resistance, because somewhere we have to store because we know the indexes under which we're inserting and removing, and so we could control. We know basically. I think what we need is something that lives alongside internal item source and indicates the levels that go with it. I almost want to make something that derives from observable collection and shove it and keep it all self-contained in there. This is private. Dear heavens, we don't want that public. For now, I think we're just going to do list of int, and we'll deal with that. Item levels. Yeah. Yeah, so this guy here, every time we insert an item, we need to go through and this is why I kind of want to put my own wrapper over this, but tree list view, item levels, clear, and then Copilot, the fact that you did that is creepy. Okay, Copilot, what am I thinking about doing right here? Oh, Copilot. You are hysterical. Sorry, I have to double check and make sure that this thing is actually doing what I expect. So this is looking at the item at index, adding 1 to it. That's actually more clever than I had thought of. Okay, Copilot, keep making me look dumb. Okay. So that works. So I think then in order to have this level property work, I'm wondering if it should be registered as read-only. The problem is, so the issue being that when lists are virtualized, the list view item will get reused. And so you'll have so imagine you've got a list view with, 10,000 items in it. You do not want to create 10,000 list view items wrapping all of that data. That's a lot of objects and your UI will drag. So with virtualization turned on, what happens is it just gets enough list view items for the visible area. And then as you scroll and, one item goes off the top or the bottom, it just grabs that item and moves it to the other side and gives it a new data context. And in our case, I think we can do it, because I'd kind of like to do it at a top level. Item container generator. Items changed. To inform the layout that the items collection has changed. I don't think this fires often enough for my purposes, but let's look at it. Because it'd be kind of nice to do it at this level. Position action. What is the value of action? Add, remove, replace, move, reset. Okay, so this is just observable collection stuff. This might be good enough. Because what I'm thinking here is item count, action, position. Well, but then I have to go back and look up the item. Probably a lot harder than just watching it down here. Because down here, what we can do, so I don't want content print center. Down here, what we can do is we can just override on. Well, but I can't watch the data context. That runs into the same problem that I complained about Telerik before, because somebody could put the same instance of an object into the collection twice, and we still want it to work, even if it's the exact same view model behind the scenes. In fact, let's go and do that on our demo, just to make sure that we don't botch this. Okay, so I want the movies one. Movie categories. So what we're going to do is we're going to go movie categories dot add movie categories sub 0. Right? This is the failure case that I didn't like about Telerik. Is they do dumb stuff where if you slap the same instance into the collection multiple times, because they rely on being able to index on the item, problems occur. Don't do that. Let me rephrase. If you're a control author, don't do that. If you're building something for an app, you can make all kinds of assumptions, right? So if I expand this and I expand this, it works, right? It knows there's a difference between these. It knows there's a difference. Okay, so we're just going to leave that there for now to make sure that this works appropriately. So if that's the case, how do we assign the appropriate level? I guess we do have to kind of watch the item container generator. I guess we have I guess we have to do that because we can't watch our item because it'll get reused. We can't watch its data context because that's not good enough. So I think we do have to watch this guy. And this we may fall apart on this, but we're gonna work through it. Wait, didn't I have an event args with like data a second ago? Oh, there's items changed, not status changed. That may not be what I want. How about base dot item container should apply item container style. On item container style changed, style selector is item own container. Yeah, so whether it should wrap in one or not, and then is item own container override. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. Container from element. Yeah, that's not. Let's see. Is item own container. Clear container for item override. Get container for item override. That's what we did. How do we get this guy? How do we get this guy? We'll find you. Container from index. Index from container. Item. Items changed. I think that's what we were watching. And we're gonna have to test this with virtualization to see if this actually works. Okay. So this comes in here. E dot. So we've got a position, an item count, and an action. And I'm guessing item UI count gets the number of user interface items involved in the change. That's useful. Okay, so I think we end up doing a switch here on this guy, and it's gonna suck because we have to write a bunch of them. And so we'll start here because this will be the easy one. And then we need to get access to, let's see. So if we go with item container generator, container from index, e dot position. Generator position. That's not an int. Index offset. Okay, so gets or sets the index that is relatively to the generated. I want. Wait, what? So there's relative to the realized items. That's not helpful to me. gets or sets the offset that is relative to the ungenerated, unrealized items near the indexed item. Huh? How do I just get absolute position here? What? I'm confused. Okay. Item changed event args. The Googles need to answer this for me. Or Copilot needs to write the code. One of the two. Okay. Explain yourself. Item container generator interface. Yep. Yep. We know all that. Remove all. The generate position from. Get item. Oh, hang on. Can we? That's not what we want. Index from. Oh, index from generator position. That will get us. Oh, so this thing takes in a generator position. Oh. Oh. Index from generator position. Okay, so we can do it that way. So we can go int index gets item container index. Wait, what? Am I in the wrong framework or something? Item container generator interface. Get item index from generator position. Index from generator position. What is the type of my object? Oh, it's not the interface. Did you explicitly implement it to make my life hard? If you did, I'm going to be a little annoyed. Item container generator. You did. You explicitly implemented it. Jerks! Doesn't prevent me from calling it. It just annoyed me. But now I'm looking to see if there's something even more fun to play with. No. Yeah, so I want index from generator position is what I want. And I'd like to do this maneuver. Let's see. We're going to call it generator gets item container generator. And now we can do generator index from generation position, e dot position, goodness, container from index, if container from index is tree list view item, tree list view item, then we will do tree list view item level gets that. Okay. Okay, so that gets us to there. Let's make sure this much at least works. Because if we can at least have the level property set, even if the style isn't appropriately indenting it, that's a simple thing to do. All right, we can slap on some external margin or something. So we're going to expand this out. We're going to come in here, and we're just going to go and look at the items. So action, right? So we come in here, we go up to the TreeView item, which is here, and we go level 0. Okay, great. So action should be at level 0. Great. Predator should be at level 1. It's not. Neither is that. Neither is that. Great. None of this worked. Excellent. Excellent. I was worried it might actually work. That would have made it too easy. So we're going to figure out where we fell apart. Okay. We got a reset call with a position of 0, 0, old position of unset. So I'm just going to pin a couple of these values so that I can keep track of them. Okay, go. So we got one reset and then never again. Excellent. Hold on, there's the add. So on expansion, it did know that it needed to add. And the e.dot position is index 0 offset 1, which gave me an index of 1. And the get container for index, this didn't return a tree list view item, which surprises me. Let's check the return here. So that guy did not return one, despite the fact that he knows what's there. Let's see. Wait, how does... What's this level property? Interesting. Status containers generated. Items read only. What are you? Controls items container generator. I'm curious. Rather than fighting with you, can I just... You're a strongly typed class that doesn't appear to have an easy assignment operator, and you're a sealed class. Excellent. I really, really, really want to know how to get access. Is this the right way of doing it? I think the answer is yes. And I guess up here is item levels set up appropriately. So item levels isn't set properly either. So it really doesn't matter the fact that we didn't get in here because we didn't set this up properly. Oh, because we did these backwards. Okay, so hold on. If that's the case, you remove first. This one doesn't matter whether you remove first or second, so we're going to do them both first for consistency. Because now this should have... Because editing that items collection... Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, generate position, reset, fine. We expand comedy, and we check the items levels. This one has a 5 with a 1 in there, which is exactly what we expect. Internal item source has a 5 with that guy there. That's what we expect. Now, I don't think that changes the fact that item container generator didn't assign, therefore it's not going to land on anything. Because it clearly hasn't generated this. A host. I'm just confused as to why it's not giving me back my container. What is this items? That's the items behind it. Items changed. Items internal. Map here, recyclable containers. It's not recycling anything. Then, does that mean all of these new ones are about to trigger here? And here? They are. So that okay, so the movie object's coming in. But we don't know, because this guy here is doing on items changed. Because this guy is keeping track of that. And he's got a massive switch doing all kinds of stuff. But we could get in on this action too. Get is selected. Selector. Info get is selected. So it's going to come in here. It's looking to pull out this info. Where did that info come from? Info came from here. Get is selected. So it looks for container. If the container has it, selection changed. Is this something I can watch? I don't think it. I'm willing to bet it's not. Yeah, this guy is. That's just keeping track of the selection. Remove from selection, adjust new containers. But where does the container get added is what I'm missing. So this is brought in, items changed. Reset items algorithm, great. Of course, set items with value. Wow, that's some heck of a bitwise operators. If it's an addition, check it if it's selected and select if it is. So this is all on selection stuff, but where do you actually... Well, this is the selector, that's why. We're all the way down in selector. List view on items changed. Wait, something's weird. So from there... So this line is wrong. It's actually calling base. Because base is the selector, and selector is then doing this work to figure out if it is going in there. Let's see. On view collection changed. So we did there. We raised the collection changed. He's watching the collection changed. That propagates down into process collection changed, which goes into process collection changed, which comes in here. It's going to notify, comes up here on collection changed, deliver event, listen, on view collection changed, invalidate enumerable wrapper. I want to know where, at what point it calls into the items container generator to get new items or to assign it to an item. Because that's got to be in items collection, right? On view changed. Apply. Default style key. What is this invoked? Show me that. On view changed. So that's not helpful to us because that's not something we are going to be leveraging. Item container refresh. Please don't be an internal member. Default style key. Items changed. Where do you do this? Prepare container for item override. Oh. We can do it right there. Yeah, we can do it right. Okay. Oh, this is easy then. This is easy then. Okay. Close a bunch of stuff. So we want this. Okay. So this will give us our element. This will also give us our individual items. So if element is, and we really should make this knowable, tree list view item, tree list view item. At this point, we should be able to get this guy's index. So this should now be able to do this logic. Well, no, not that logic. Since we have the item, we should be able to go index from container, tree list view item, int index. And then from here, we should be able to leverage our levels, thank you, and assign it. So that should do what we want. And then we don't need this garbage anymore. There, I like that better. That, yes, because this should get invoked in data virtualization where it brings the container around from the side that it scrolled off of to bring it around to the front. This is where the item gets assigned and it's repopulated. Yes. Okay, kill these breakpoints because I don't want to pause every 2 seconds. Okay, prepare container for override. That's only going to hit 4 times, I think. We only have 4 items. Great. Oh, we didn't call the base. So we've broken all of our base assignment. So that's... Nope. Not that. That's not what we want to edit. We want to be here. So we want to call base, prepare container for item override, element, item. Okay. We want to do that. I'm going to just launch this really quick. And then I'll set my breakpoint when we come back in here for selection. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is that internal collection is probably not going to be... I don't like having an observable collection and a list I have to keep in sync. So I may create my own custom class and wrap them both up in there. So if I do this, item is a movie. I'm guessing I'm going to get an index of 2. Excellent. Item levels should be populated. Those two get a 1. Okay, because we got 2 Euro trips there. And I'm going to expand out this one. Okay, we're going to just disable breakpoint. We're going to just snoop this guy to make sure that we got the values we expect. And we go here, we go here. Let's take a look at these. Okay, so we're going to go up to the tree list view items. All right, we're going to set this to the side where we can watch the little red expansion. We'll filter down to the level property. Okay, so action level 0. Good. Predator level 1. Alien level 1. Prometheus level 1. Comedy level 0. Euro trip level 1. Euro trip level 1. Action level 0. Okay. Okay. We've got levels. Got levels. Okay. So now that we've got the appropriate property being set for us, what we can do is we can come over to our style. And nope, not here. I am in the wrong project. We can come over here. And on our tree list view item, what we would like to do is we would like to inset the content a little bit based upon where it is. So, and we can play with this and snoop real quick and see where we want to do this. So for example, predator, right? This guy here. What I think we probably want to inset is the padding here. So for example, oh, is padding not a thing? Do we expect to be able to click outside of this? For example, does here... So this one allows double click anywhere on the header to make it go. But what do we expect? I think we expect the entire content shifted over. Because we could even do, on this grid, we could even just do margin 10,000, right? And indent it an appropriate amount. Something like that. I don't know what an appropriate amount is. We probably have, but I think I like, let's just do the margin on the grid for the moment. I think that's the path of least resistance. So this grid here, we want to margin him up based upon the level. And I wanted to look at what we were doing on TreeView item, because that's going to be on the items control and how much he is inset. 16, it looks like. I realize that's a negative 16, which is making me question my sanity a little bit. But I'm trying to look and see how this thing is structured. So we've got a grid with 3 columns. I assume the left one is for spacing, so I'm looking for grid column 0 to figure out what might scale it. And I'm wondering if it's that scale host that does it. For example, when I'm looking at these, if we come over here, all right, where did my Snoop window go? TreeView items. So where is this guy? Yeah, so the scale host is adjusted, but I don't know which property. So that's what it's using. Actual width. So something on the scale host is being set, which is then increasing the grid and moving it over, which is how that is working. So find scale host. So the scale property is going from 0 to 1, which is fine. That will animate it, but something else has to be setting a different property. Math multiplication. Got it. So that's fine. So that animates from 0 to 1, and then the scale host has something being set with this stack panel actual height binding. That way the items measure their size and it expands appropriately, which isn't really what we want to be doing. And that's not quite what we're after. Let's Let's look a little more. What else is offsetting this? Because this is all about height and doing the scale. Because the scale is just being animated from 0 to 1. There's got to be like a control template trigger or something. Because there's an indent that's occurring, and I'm wondering if it's that -16 in there. Let's just test that real quick. I want to move you over where I can keep an eye on you. So grid has the whole thing. Let's just do show grid lines. Show grid lines so that we can see where those things are. Scale host is there, expander's there. Let's see. Let's search for padding and margin properties. Those are all assist class. Padding is set to 8, but I don't think that's actually the... Yeah, that's not the root cause. That's just giving space around it. Let's see. Expander's sitting in there. Toggle button sitting in there. Mouse over border is only on the right. Selected border is only on the right. Content grid is only on the right. Additional content. You're all collapsed. It's got to be that scale host sizing that's doing it. Show me your width properties. You've got an actual width of 32 based upon what? What is this? Okay, the scale host is doing something I'm not familiar with. What are you? Okay, so you're doing basically nothing. You are a container for a scale. So show me your scale, I guess. Your scale is 0, but yet your actual width... Huh? You've got a scale of 0, but your actual width is 32. And your actual height is more or less the same. Oh, is the indent simply coming by the virtue of this guy is shoved over into a different oh, that's what's going on. This guy is shoved over into the other column. Therefore, what's actually doing the offset isn't the scale host, but the fact that this toggle button exists. So this toggle button is what's holding this thing out. So if you were 0, yeah, okay, so the toggle button having a margin and a size is what's actually, okay. That's what's actually insetting it, is the size of the toggle button is causing it to be inset by X amount of space. Okay, okay, okay. And how much exactly is that? Just hypothetical. We go and look at this. How wide is your first column? 32. I think 32 is probably a little too much, but we might give a configuration property or something on it. Okay, so we want to multiply our offset by, we'll say 32 for now, to do the inset. And we'll probably make it a configurable value at some point. So let's look at this. Here we have all of this stuff. And the way it gets inset is the parent is set. But what we want to do is we want to do grid margin. And I think we already have some converters already built in for this kind of stuff. Thickness clone converter. It's not quite what I want. Let's see, circular brush. We might have to build one real quick for it. Yeah, I don't see this. We're gonna do new class. Tree list view indent converter. And do that. We'll go ahead and leave this public so that other people can leverage it, but we aren't going to expose it in the YAML. Let's see, we do that. Does it need to be a multi-value converter? It probably should be a multi-value converter. Because I suspect if we're going to make it a dependency property later on, we are going to want to have two values that get brought in, multiplied together, and then so we're going to clean up some of these nullability things here. And one of these nullability things here. Yeah. I get it. You're unhappy with me. What did I messed up. I messed up somewhere. I don't want to think too hard. Implement it for me. Thank you. Okay, Copilot, I would like you to write the entire method for me. Go. No? Okay. Well, you suck. Ha! I'm still a developer. You're just an AI. Get on my level. I know. I'm petty. So if values is let's see, int we'll call this size int level. Then return new thickness size times level 000. Return binding do nothing. We don't get something we expect. This should probably be a double rather than a int. And for those people who haven't seen this syntax, this is list pattern matching, somewhat newer in C# land. It is pretty much gold. Specifically for value converters in WPF, where you know there's an expected size of the array that you're wanting. That's pretty much where this one works. So if value is thickness, binding do nothing. Okay. Actually, you know what? This really shouldn't be going two-way. Row not implemented exception. So don't use it that way. Okay. So we'll take this, and then we will go back over to our guy here. And we're going to go control template resources. We're going to bring him in here. XT. Assume we've already got the converter's namespace referenced. Could be wrong. Stop debug. Oh, we're in the middle of the debug session. It's probably really confused. Do we have the converter's namespace referenced? We do. Huzzah. Okay, so you should figure yourself out here in a moment. And then we are going to slap on system index is not. We don't have access to it. Boo! We could shim it. Which version of .NET is limiting me? 4.6.2. Do I shim it for 4.6.2? No, we'll do it the hard way. Length equals 2, and value. See, this is why property pattern matching is awesome. It's double size, because I didn't have to write all of this code. Sub 1 is int level. What happened here? Okay. We'll do it that way. We won't do the cool list pattern match. Okay, close that, close that. Okay, okay. Push you down. Just want you to build. Thank you. Okay, so now we do grid dot margin. To do handle right to left. Let's see. So this is then going to be a multi-binding with a converter that is a static resource. Boom. It goes like that. And then we do binding. And let's see. So the first value that we wanted in there was the size. So let's see. I think we can just do I want double, but I want to double. Oh, I think I actually have to do binding source gets 16. And then binding, let's see. And this one's going to end up being path level. Relative source self. Oh, actually, I want to do a templated parent. That's what I want. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay, so we expand. Did not get indented. So let's start here. Values. Oh, we're getting a string 16. Suck. Let's see. What is the... Trying to remember how I declare a literal double. I think I'm gonna end up doing something really ugly. You know what? No, we're gonna not do this. We are going to just, because we want it to exist eventually anyway. Prop dp. Let's see, double indent level indent size, maybe Again, naming subject to change. Anyone is allowed to suggest better options. Because I can't claim that I'm great at naming. Okay, so we're going to do that. It's going to default to 16. And then we, rather than futzing with figuring out declaring a static double and how that's going to work, we are just going to do path and then relative source find ancestor. Ancestor type is going to be X type WPF tree list view. Tree list view. I don't know why it's not showing up there. And then I want whatever the heck I just named that property. There. Okay, let's try this again. This time, it should get a double and an int, because those are the declared properties. Let's see. The invocation on constructor default value type does not match the property of level indent size. Oh, you suck. Because I typed 16 doesn't. So the property metadata, again, because generics weren't a thing, its default value takes in an object. And if you type in 16 by itself, that's treated as an integer literal, which is not a double literal. And then it gets unhappy that it sees type of double here and integer here. Okay, I'm going to just turn this breakpoint off for a moment, and we're going to see it work, and it's going to be amazing, and it works! Love it, 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 love it. Now, we got to get rid of the hides element thing. And I'm not sure. So, open for debate here. This selection starts here and doesn't go all the way across. But for example, things like the one in the Solution Explorer, the selection does go all the way across. I don't know if there's a, let's look real quick. Material design. I don't know if they actually define this one. This is probably, I imagine this is going to be one of those areas where it's non-obvious because we have to kind of infer it from other controls to kind of guess. Like, for example, this layout here is kind of a tree view, and I guess their selection doesn't go all the way across. So maybe that makes sense. Maybe it makes sense. Okay, so we are going to do a couple things. Step one, we are going to commit, but we are also going to delete off our multi-select tree view thing that we were doing because I think we're scrapping that. So multi-select tree view is out. We have to stop debugging if we want to delete stuff. So we're gonna axe that. We're gonna come back over into here. We're gonna come up to here. We're just gonna go grab the multi-select tree view. That style dead. I assume this one goes with it. Multi-select tree view item. Yeah, this one goes with it. Okay, so that's dead. That's dead. That's dead. We don't care. That's a simple thing. Now, we will need to implement has item next or has items next. Effectively, yeah, we'll also need to handle right to left. That's a thing. Yeah, Yeah, because this trigger here is going to be the next one to be implemented. Is we need to have something on our item that has a has items property. Yeah, and then we're gonna has no items expander visibility. So we'll wanna respect this other thing. And then I think what we'll do is we'll probably end up moving these two styles into their own XAML file. More akin to how like the drawer host and dialog host are set up. But then I think we will end up with something pretty close. And then I don't think I'm going to bother to do it for the V1 release, but in theory, we could implement the column headers. That way you could have the test explorer behavior like this. Because this is a behavior that you get with ListView with columns. So because we're a ListView, it's a thing we can add. So I don't think we're going to do it now, but I'm much happier with where this is landing. I think this makes me very, very happy. Specifically, the ability to be able to interact with this control the same way you would a regular tree view with hierarchical data templates and data binding. I do want to also test, we're going to kill this off. I do want to also test putting in literal content as well and make sure that that works appropriately, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. We do have an interesting problem in that you can't actually nest things. You can't actually nest things. When would you want to do that? When would you want literal content and actually care about this one? I guess if you wanted literal content and multi-selection. That would be the only time I could see somebody doing it. So, yeah, this will be an interesting control. This will be an interesting control, and it may make for a fun blog post. I may end up doing like a summary video at the very end, or a write-up of, hey, here's all the things that we struggled with, or yeah, because future Kevin is not going to remember what current Kevin did here tonight. Oh, commit. Let's just real quick check the changes there. Let's see. Working preview with multi-selection and indentation. Sweet. Okay. That is up. If anybody feels overly eager and wants to help out with it, I am happy to accept PRs into this branch. So feel free to play with it. It is something forthcoming. Like I said last week, I've got a work project that I really want this for, so I'm somewhat motivated to get it done because the current control we're using is crap, and I am sick and tired of dealing with crap. So, but it is after midnight for me. I'm a little tired. The Mountain Dew's empty, so it's probably an indication that coding should probably cease for tonight. As always, thank you everyone for coming in and hanging out. Check out GitCon if you haven't already. I highly recommend it. Let me see if is it still on my, it might still be on my paste buffer. It's not. Hang on. Go here. You have to spell it correctly in order to find it. But if anybody is interested, this will be... Wait. That's not the right website. It's 2022. Yeah, I just want gitcon.com. It's not rocket science. There we go. 2023. That's the right year. So check it out. If you